You're listening to Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast. Brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technologically advanced silhouette decoy on the market. First Light, the best hunting gear on the planet. Go farther, stay longer. And Ducklander Calls, tradition, education, and quality. Built to hunt.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Union 0430 podcast. This is episode 218. And if you haven't guessed it, I'm not Damien, but luckily he's still here. This week we've got a great new guest joining us, and he's coming all the way from Iceland. So we'll dig into that a little bit more. But since I kind of made the connection, he's the guy I put Damien in touch with. Damien asked me to kind of lead things off tonight and do the intro. And so if it goes poorly or I mess things up, we'll at least blame Damien for that. Because he gave it to me last minute. So but yeah, before we get too further into that, as always, we just want to thank our sponsors of First Light, Real Geese, Ducklander Calls, and of course the voice of the Union 0430 podcast, Captain Jeff Coates of Pit Boss Waterfowl. Thanks to each and every one of those guys for the work that they do for us and allowing us to come on here and have fun like we do. Tonight's guest is joining us from Iceland, like I said. And I'm not going to lie, I don't remember how to pronounce his real name, but luckily he's mostly referred to and known as the Viking. So that keeps things easy for me. He's a really interesting guy. Met him last fall while out on a hunt out west, and hoping we can learn a little bit more about him, get to know some of his personal background, and learn about some of the cool stories I'm sure he's got, the shows that he gets to go to, and some of the cool hunting destinations that he's been to and I've heard coming up on. So we'll get started. If you want to just kind of tell everybody about yourself, introduce yourself, and we'll just roll with it.
Yeah, good to be with you guys. Thanks for having me, and look forward to BSing with you guys for an hour or so. It might stretch into two, but I am known as the Viking by many, also known from the Duck Hunters Refuge from the past as Duck L'Orange. Some refer to me as the Arctic Cocoon Ass, but my real name is Captain Lawrence. So you don't have to remember that pronunciation. I have heard every version of it. That's why at Duck Hunt in Arkansas I am referred to as Fred. So I answer to a lot of names.
Well, it's funny because when I first met you, so most people that listen know that I was on a trip out to Saskatchewan last year, and that I won it through Final Approach and a bunch of their supporters and sponsors. And so the first time we met was we had just stopped by, I think, your hotel to pick you up. You had come in the night before, and I think when we got introduced, I thought you were from the States as well, and because like not a strong accent by any means, and I couldn't really place it. And we were meeting 4, 5, 6 other guys at the time, so it's like everybody's introducing themselves and names are kind of coming and going. So yeah, even afterwards, I was kind of glad, like we're sitting around and I'm like, I don't remember anybody's names that we've all just introduced ourselves to. And then when Mario got talking and was telling more stories about you and just started referring to you as the Viking, I'm like, oh, it's perfect. Keeps it nice and simple.
Can't forget it.
Yeah.
Can't forget it. No, yeah, I'll give you a little background on me. I'm 53, born and raised here in Iceland, live in Reykjavik, have always lived in Reykjavik. Traveled a lot with my parents when I was younger. They did a lot of traveling to the States, so that's where I picked up my English and my American accent. Started hunting pretty young, but kind of got got into it when I got my driver's license. I didn't want to be under my dad's foot regarding hunting because I thought I could do it better. I thought I could, teach the old man how to do the things. Well, that didn't turn out the way it did, but still. Market hunted for more than 20 years. Only a few years since I stopped that, mainly for geese and ptarmigan. Got got kind of intoxicated by duck hunting and duck calling over decoys, which was kind of a practice here in Iceland that just no one did. You know, ducks were jump shot out of ditches or, shot flying over when you were goose hunting in the field. So it was, the art of duck hunting kind of filtered through me through magazines, DVDs, VHSs, and stuff like that. And I, I remember the first duck calls I bought. I threw them out a few years ago. I have no idea why I did that shit, but I did it, and I can remember that day vividly. I was cleaning stuff in my storage room, and I'm like, this old shit. I'm not going to use this anymore. Today, I'm scratching my head. What was I thinking, or
Yeah.
what had I been drinking? But yeah, with that being said, I think my main connection to the U.S. and starting making friends over in the U.S. started in 2000. Well, actually, 99 when I signed on with the Duck Hunters Refuge, which was a forum, web-based forum. Do you
Yep.
remember
Yep.
the Duck Hunters Refuge?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so I got mixed up with a good crowd there from Texas, and in 2001 on my 30th birthday, I made a decision to go to the States and join the Texas Refuge Gang in Bay Prairie in Midfield, Texas, for a combination snow goose and bay hunt for ducks in December. And I started making friends. I turned into a little celebrity because there was no one international on that website, on that forum. It was just me. And so, people liked the way that I did things. They, of course, envied the fact that I could shoot 24/7, still shooting that shot. We had no limits, and I could sell the shit out of what I killed. With that being said, uh, I respected more the way and manner of things were being in the States because I realized that the way that we were conducting things, it's a dead end street. You can't break the resource, and that's actually what we just were doing.
But you were still kind
Most
of
of
the
that has
stage
come
of the
to an end
market
today.
hunting that North America had already kind of been through and learned from.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. So we have phased out of most of that. Legally you can still sell geese, but it's a handful of guys that is doing it, and I think they're doing it just because they can do it. They don't have to do it. They don't need to
Yeah.
do it. They're not providing for their families by any means by doing it. It's just they're getting some of the cost back. Free
Yeah.
bullets.
Yeah. If
Hmm.
they really
That
want to get
I
out there
think
and
I
enjoy it.
Yeah, I think that's it. But what saved our ptarmigan hunting, upland hunting, which is the only upland bird that we have, is actually, you know, you couldn't market, you couldn't sell them anymore. That's what saved it. We wouldn't have a
Okay.
ptarmigan season today if that wouldn't happen. That's less than 15 years ago.
Wow.
So now you have a little background on me. The reason why we met in Saskatchewan is that Mario Friendy, that is the product manager and sales director and VP of sales and whatever he is in warehouse Mongo and everything over there. The man that makes the
Mm.
wheels turn and polishes stuff so it shines is a good friend of mine. We started working together in 2008 when I started with the company that I'm with today. When I wanted someone in the States to start making goose calls for the European market. Greylag call, pinkfoot, barnacle, eastern white fronts, bean geese. I wanted to have it all and sell it all. So Mario was working for Buck Gardner back then, and
Hmm.
so I met up with him in Orlando in '08 or '09. Neither one of us can remember which of those 2 years it was, but it was either one of them. And that started a beautiful friendship, and we're still best buddies 15 years from now. And
Yeah.
I joined on that hunt in Saskatchewan last year, and that's where I met him. And that's why we're here, you, me, Damien, and
Yeah.
it's having fun on the internet.
Well, it's interesting to hear too, because one of my questions I was going to ask was about the like how you got into hunting, if it was a family thing, if you followed up with your dad, or because like I know like I've been to Iceland and I've never heard about people hunting in Iceland. When I was there, it seemed like guns weren't a very common sort of thing. So I wanted to kind of see that background. So it's interesting to hear that your dad was in it and kind of led you into it. Um, but like, what was his background, and was it something that was needed to be done back in the day, or was it something he was just doing out of enjoyment?
No, no. It was, my dad didn't hunt for pleasure or for the romance of it or for the sport of it. Back, my dad was born in 1926. He was raised by his grandparents, which were just poor farmers that lived on the west fjords. Uh, it was a means to provide food, nothing
Yeah,
else. And for him, it was. I'm not sure. I never did. I never got to sit down with my dad and say, "Why do you ask that question and get an answer?" So I still don't know that to this day. But when I started hunting, he gave it up.
yeah.
So
But it's funny because I was listening to, I can't remember what podcast it was, or who it was. They were talking about somebody like a big name, historic name in hunting. I can't remember who it was, but that was kind of the same story. It's like, like
Jack
the guy
Miner.
was it Jack Miner when he was like 8 or something,
mhm.
took over
He
for
he
hunting
was
from his
Yeah,
dad.
six. He was
Oh, it was six, eh?
six. He was
Yeah.
6 years old when his family told him, "Hey, listen, you're not going to be a doctor." More or less, I'm paraphrasing, but you're not going to be a doctor, so you need to start providing for the family. So at 6 years old, he went with a shotgun and started shooting birds to
Yeah, and then
provide
his
food
dad
for.
just gave it up because he's like, good, it's one less thing I have to do.
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah,
One less
it's
core.
funny, right? Because we all think about it still as like some people still a necessity, but for most of us, it's just something we like to do. It's something we want to do and feel we've got to keep doing. But it wasn't that long ago when it was just one more hassle, really, right? Like,
Well, where
Yeah,
I'm
for a
from,
lot.
sorry, like where I'm from, I don't think it's as much like it now, but I'm only 49, and I can remember like my dad when it came to moose and caribou. My dad didn't shoot birds, but for moose and caribou, um, it was to put food in the freezer so that
Hmm.
we had something to eat throughout the winter months when he wasn't working and all that stuff, right? So I still think, and to go back to your part, um, I don't think Dad viewed hunting as a fun thing. It was a
No.
job. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it was a necessity. So there wasn't a whole lot of. I think he enjoyed it when he was with his buddies, but I don't think he had the same joy for it that we do.
well,
No.
especially like we
No.
talked about before too, like the change in gear, the lighter clothing, warmer clothing, and even online the last couple of days, there's been a bunch of posts about old clothes versus new clothes and just what they had versus what we have. And so yeah, even as tough as people probably were, they were tougher than we are. But when you're walking around wet and heavy jackets and that, it probably wasn't enjoyable. Especially I imagine hunting moose and caribou in Newfoundland. It's probably not all blue skies and nice warm
Not an easy
sunshine stuff,
task.
right?
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, not at all. It was miserable, and you're in the North Atlantic, so
Yeah.
fog, wind, rain all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
A
Weather
bluebird
change.
day. Yeah, weather
Wh-
changes like the snap of a
Yeah.
finger.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and I think that we are privileged to be able to enjoy what we're doing today on the terms that we're doing it. However, I can speak for myself. I don't do it because I like doing it. I do it because I have to do it. There's just something within me that it drives me insane. If I neglect this part of myself, I turn into something I don't like being. And everyone that knows me seems to seems to pick up on it that, maybe he needs to go and kill something. And it is not
I get
about
it.
the killing, but it's getting
It
out the
is.
door,
Yeah.
the smell of a wet dog, gun in hand. I can't explain it. If someone wanted me to paint the picture of it, and I was the best painter in the world, I, I couldn't. It's
I heard so our friend Bobby Hayes from Ducklander Calls just put out a podcast today, and one of the things he was talking about, his enjoyment of the hunt and stuff, and you sort of just kind of brought it up where you said it's not about the killing, and what he said is that everything that leads up to the shot, to the kill, that's what ends it. So
Mhm.
he's got so much, he's so happy, he's so excited, adrenaline's running, the birds are doing what he wants it to do, and he's looking down the rib of his barrel, and then when he pulls the trigger, that's the end. And
The-
it's not the kill. The kill is what ends all of the joy.
Yeah.
That makes
yeah,
sense to anybody that's listening. And when he explained it like that, I was like, huh, that is 100%. It's not the kill. The kill
no,
is the
no.
worst part of it, actually, because that's where it ends.
Well, it's like think about like
Oh yeah,
turkey
yeah,
hunting too, right? In the spring, you've been waiting all winter to get out and hunt something, and then you get out for turkey, and you get your bird or two, and that's it. Especially if you get it the first couple of days of the season. Now you're waiting all summer into the fall again before you can get back out there, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It is. Well, I'm fortunate. I can go and shoot pretty much year round. Some of it is not for human consumption, like seagulls and stuff like that, which we can shoot hunt.
Mhm.
It's a hunt, of course, because here where they're hunted, they behave like any other game bird. They
Yeah,
don't. They want to see another sunrise. They
yeah,
they
Yep.
you gotta cam off. You gotta make a hide. You gotta make a blind. You gotta keep your head low. And I used to do that for airport authorities on a couple of places. Shoot seagulls. Shot them in the thousands and thousands and thousands. And I never got any enjoyment out of, seeing them fall out of the sky, except when I made a great shot and I knew I outsmarted them. But it was never about the kill. It's just, you know, like your friend Bobby said, everything that leads to it and then everything after it. If we could take that little notch out of that
Hmm.
keyboard, the song would still be the same. It's missing one note, but
yeah.
it's still going to be the same song, and we don't have to hit that note. It wouldn't make a difference to me. Not that I'm going to sit in front of a screen and shoot birds with a keyboard. That ain't never going to happen.
Out there with drones.
Nope.
I don't know
I,
if you're aware of this, but Craig has a bit of a reputation around these parts, and his nickname is the triple threat, or the triple threat, I should say. I shouldn't use my Newfie accent there.
Okay.
So we call him the triple threat, and he's got this reputation of being a crack shot, and I really want to know, because I was in, while you guys were in Saskatchewan, I was in Saskatchewan too. I was just a little bit further south than you guys, and I was talking to Craig, leading up to this, and I never really did get any confirmation on how his shooting was while he was out there, and you know what? Me and the boys are just a little bit curious just how well he done out there.
He shot good. He had a new gun. Let's
Yeah,
not
he did
forget
have it,
that
and a
fact.
beautiful one at that.
and
Yeah,
I
that
like
kind of
shooting those.
yeah. You got a good gun, and yeah, he shot good. I think that group that we had at that time that you were there, I think everyone in that blind could shoot, and
Yeah.
you shot good. And I know Mario shoots good. Of course,
Yeah. Oh
Tyler
yeah.
is a killing machine. So yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah, I can confirm he can shoot. He
There
can
was
shoot.
well when you
And
mentioned like when you make a when like with seagull hunting, it's like I don't enjoy it unless I make a good shot. And I was gonna chime in and say because there was watching you shoot was crazy. Like I remember there was one point. It was the one day when we were all day, we were shooting ducks. And like we were there till I think 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and Tyler had left to go get breakfast sandwiches and stuff and heaters to bring out for us. And so I think a couple people had left, and it was Mario. I said, all right, like from now on, like we're just gonna call birds. It's like birds come in, I'm gonna say somebody's name to shoot. And there was the other winner, Kyle, and I felt bad for him because I was sitting beside him the whole time. Like he could shoot, but of course that one time Mario calls his name, he's
Oh,
and
of
like
course.
there was a bird right in front of us, like feet away, and he unloads and you don't even see a feather ruffle. And I think that was the one where it's like everybody started shooting and it went around behind us and you hadn't shot yet. And everybody else was just blasting away. And then finally, when it got around behind us and it was way off, you just finally stood up, pop, and it just dropped. Right? But that thing was great.
Let the old fella show you how it's done. That's all that was.
And
You guys should do because you've brought his name up a couple times. You should do a shout out to Tyler and just talk about his operation out there, because I know for Tyler, having a good word said about his business means a lot. So give Tyler a shout out.
Yeah, so it was
with that.
we were with Tyler Mann with Saskatchewan Goose Company. And just a great spot. Him and his guides, all great people, and the ladies that did the cleaning and the cooking and everything, like everything was awesome.
Top notch lodge too, From the pictures I seen.
Oh yeah,
beautiful place.
Oh yeah,
he's got
super.
a butcher shop and everything too. Like he in the off season, I think like he's a butcher, and so he'll run meat through, and then we were eating meat that he had cut and like huge steaks and like the weather and stuff wasn't great when we were out there. Like we had a couple of hunts that were just the birds just weren't doing it for us very well. But he and the guys did everything they could. They kept us comfortable. Like we got birds. And yeah, like I couldn't think of a bad thing to say about the experience at all. Like it was, I had a great time. Yeah, and especially with the people that were there.
Yeah, I can agree and chime in that Tyler and everyone he has over that. It's a family-run company, and the guides that he has, everyone works their ass off to make sure that what happened today, good or bad, is either going to be better or exceeding anything that you expect. But this is a game where you're playing with Mother Nature, and he's pretty far up north. He's just right on that boreal tree line. So he doesn't have anything. He doesn't have a lot of plan Bs, but the plan Bs that he seems to have is that he is respected within the communities that he hunts with. A lot of the local people, the native people, they even assist him. He assists them. They get birds from him and meat, and I think that the way that he handles his business, is just a mirror image of his personality. He treats everyone from the first line of defense to the last with the same respect. So everyone gets treated the same. So when he picks up the phone, these people, they know that there's a reason for him calling, and they will assist. So yeah, can't say anything but good things about him, his operation, and all the people that are around him over there, his guides, and yes,
I think
and the lodge is super nice.
Oh, the lodge was beautiful. Craig sent me pictures of the lodge, and the lodge is absolutely beautiful and very well designed and decorated and the whole bit. But I think, as clients, now you guys went out, you had won your trip out there and the whole bit. But I think as clients, and I know the weather was bad, and you touched on the fact that, you're at the mercy of Mother Nature, and no matter how well you plan stuff, sometimes Mother Nature is just going to put a screw to things. But I think as clients, if clients can see the guide and the outfitter, if they're putting in as much effort as they possibly can to try and make sure that their hunt is going to be a success, then I don't think you'll ever have a client that'll complain.
Yeah.
It's the guides and the outfitters that well, there's no birds. Well, listen, I'm paying you a lot of money, so you haven't even scouted yet. So how can you say there's no birds? And I think that's where outfitters and guides get in trouble, is if they're lazy and they don't want to put in the work, that'll get them into
Yeah,
trouble. But when you talk about a guy like Tyler, who's very much part of the community out there,
yeah.
it's not the case. So it's not
Yeah.
from, I guess this is a very long-winded way of saying it's not from lack of effort on his part that the birds
No,
don't work for you some days.
no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah, for sure.
no,
And there
for
was
sure.
one, so like one thing that was really cool. The very last day of the last hunt, what was that goose? You got a hybrid goose on the last day.
Oh yeah. uh, I'm not sure if you can see it.
Yeah,
Can you? Oh shit! Where's that camera?
Yeah.
yeah,
Right there.
oh yeah,
Oh, there we go. Well, this bird came in with a. This is a hybrid blue.
yeah. Blue
Uh,
snow.
no, it's a hybrid blue. Yeah, it's a blue-faced snow
Yeah,
ex Canada. So
right.
a lesser.
Yeah.
So it came in with a bunch of birds, and we're all getting ready to shoot. And I started looking up, and I'm looking over the end of the trailer, and I'm looking. I can see Tyler spotted it as well because he's looking up, and he's getting ready to call the shot. So I just eased out. I was ready. So as soon as take him, and he's a big guy. It takes him a while to get up, but he is fast. He's like a damn snake. But guess what? Old Viking was a little faster. I just went up there. So, I poked that bird out of the sky, and he looked down the line because he got all screwed up with him. He looked down the line, and I could see him. I lip read, and he's like, "You motherfucker!"
You got it. Yeah.
You got it.
And you were probably the last person he wanted to see get that bird too. He wanted everybody else to get that bird but you, which is why he was
Well,
like,
I
motherfucker.
know I know we wanted that bird out of the sky,
Yeah.
for sure. But it is without a doubt a unique bird. But we came to an agreement. Well, I left that bird with him. He's going to mount it, and it's going to be in his lodge. And he said, "You can come anytime you want over here and look at
There. And
it."
he needs to put a little brass plate
The
underneath it.
Viking.
The Viking, shot by the
Yeah.
Viking, because that's a story in itself right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You've been
yeah,
there a
that's a
few times,
conversation
right?
piece. Hmm?
That wasn't your first time. You've been there a bunch of times in the past, haven't you?
I've been there 2 times. That was my
Oh, okay.
second time.
Oh,
So
okay.
so yeah. So I'm in good terms with Tyler, but it's all through Mario and what he's doing. They're in a really good cooperation. So
Yeah.
I'm just fortunate I get to tag along. So yeah, I can't complain. But like Damien said, you're a busy guy, and everywhere I need to go always involves a plane, except when I'm hunting back here back home. So there's travels have become my nemesis because I hate airports and airplanes. But then again, that's what fuels the fire because I need to get there if I want to do it. So
Yeah.
so that's another thing. But
Well, in the
I'm
summer,
not complaining.
just this fall too, like or I guess this winter, you were at SHOT Show. And then did you end up doing like a whole round of hunting after the show?
Yeah, what? Yeah, it was kind of it was turning into a divorce deal. Well, I have the most understanding wife you can find, so I'm not going to complain about that. But I went to SHOT Show, stayed there for a full week. Well, with the industry day at the range, which is a day before the show, and then the show itself is 4 days. I stayed there for those 5 days, arriving the day before the industry day at the range and leaving the last day of the show in the afternoon, where I headed over to Arkansas. I am good friends with the waterfowl legend, Pat Pitt.
Yeah, I
Uh,
remember you talking about him when we were out west.
yeah, well, he's one of my best friends, and He's been a bunch of times up here in Iceland. So at some point in time, it just became really convenient. And I was fortunate for his friendship that he invited me over to his duck camp and his club in Arkansas, the Langy Lounge Duck Club. So I went there for 6 days, and Mario with Adam came there because Mario was interested in meeting Pat. You know, he had talked to him, he heard about him. You know, anyone that waterfowl hunts knows who Pat Pitt is. So he wanted to meet him, and so at some point in time we discussed it, and Pat said, "Well, he can come over here and hunt with us," and that's what we did. So we hunted over there for 3 days, and after that, I went over with Mario back to Missouri, where we were a couple of days over at Rogers in Missouri, and then we hunted Canada geese, honkers for a couple of days, and then yeah, I was back home by it was almost February when I got back. Well, actually, it was February when I got back. Coming to think of it, yeah, it was February when I got back. And I had to leave for the EVA show, which is the industry show in Europe. It's held in Nuremberg in Germany every
That's the one
year,
you just
and
came
it
back
was
from?
yeah, which I just came back from. And that one was from the 24th, 25th to the 2nd. And then I got some delays coming back because of bad weather. We've been bombarded by bad storms this winter, so yeah, that was the deal. And so I have had this week to catch up and into a little bit into the next week, and then I'm off to Greenland for a week of killing king eiders. So
That's what
Yeah.
you were chasing.
yeah, that is a bucket list thing that kind of it just I
Have
got
you
it handed over.
you have never shot king eiders?
I have actually shot one king eider, and that was an immature drake. I've always called him the prince because
Well,
he was dirty. He
as
wasn't a pretty bird.
well, so I know so and I don't mean to cut you off, but I know a lot of people that head up to Alaska to St. Paul Island and they'll hunt their king eiders there. And
Yeah.
and I've heard that it's cheaper if you're from Canada to go to Greenland and hunt your king eiders than it is to go to Alaska. So as you guys were talking, I'm like, how much is a flight from Toronto to Iceland? And it's not Greenland,
It's
but it's
it's
ice.
it's dirt cheap.
It's dirt cheap. It's like $700.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey.
No, but that's amazing. But that's amazing. And again, and this is me, and I'm not trying to hijack your conversation, Craig. What about harlequins? Do you guys get harlequins?
we
Or is
have
that a
we
Pacific
have
bird
the
only?
no. Actually, we have the easternmost population of Harleys
Okay.
in the world. So there are no harlequin ducks breeding or golden eyes.
Oh.
Barrow's golden eyes further east than here. So when the Exxon Valdez accident happened,
Mm-hmm.
the reserve population was here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Alaska and Iceland are far away from each other, but not that far. And like my good friend Pat Pitt says, there are no fences in the sky.
That's very true. That's very true. I think I'm ex-military, and we have a base it's called Alert. It's up in the Arctic Circle, and I think because of the the shape of the Earth and the way to get it, I think when we leave Canada, we fly to Iceland. That's where we refuel before we head into the base. So like we leave Canada to fly to Iceland to fly back into Canada. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It is. But because we were talking species, so we have we have a healthy population of course, harlequin ducks, and then we have a huge population, um, 4 to 5 million birds of northern eiders, which we can't hunt either because Iceland has a man-made, self-sustained harvest farming of
Okay.
eider down.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
So there are eider colonies that are maintained,
Yep.
protected, and managed by families that are raised doing this and have been doing it for 100, 200
Years.
years.
Yeah. That's
So
cool.
those colonies, uh, I would love to be able to hunt them here. Let's just say that, with February probably being the least month of the year for weather, it would be a let's say a 4 weekend season of in February there's 80% probability that half of those days are going to be gone just due to bad weather,
Hmm.
and you could shoot 2 drakes a day. I don't care. And the license would be something like $400. I don't care.
Yeah.
We could put that money into research. We could get people here from other parts of the world to add another species on the list, and the species would definitely benefit from it in the long run. Let's say that all those license money would go straight
Yeah.
into
Conservation.
protecting and,
Yeah.
and doing conservation and research on eiders. With that
Hmm.
being said, I don't think it's ever going to happen,
No.
and I'm not gonna lobby for it. But it's an idea. If someone eavesdrops in on this conversation and thinks, "Oh, that's a cool idea. Let's
Yeah.
let's do it," then we'll know where it came from. But it'll never happen.
What
So
is what's the attitude towards um outsiders coming to hunt in Iceland? So is it something where people are like, no, let's just keep it our little secret and not really advertise and be swarmed with a bunch of people from all over the world?
no, I think that we don't. I don't. There's no discrimination when it comes to that because we have pretty strict rules when it comes to outsiders coming here to hunt. So
Hmm.
what you cannot hunt public land.
Okay.
You can only hunt private land. So if you're a non-resident,
Yeah.
that's your options. If you're here to goose hunt or duck hunt, then that's not going to make any problems for you. If you want to come here to ptarmigan hunt, that's it will affect it. It does not apply to the reindeer hunting, which is the only big game hunting that we
Hmm.
have here, which is on the East Coast. So that excludes that. But would that be, and so I would say that it doesn't affect there's no negativity
Okay.
towards
Cool.
hunters coming here. The only thing that I know was pissing people off was that they were losing their hunting privileges just because outfitters were paying big money to farmers and you couldn't get access
Hmm.
to any properties anymore because Iceland is a relatively small place.
Yeah.
So the uh, the hunting opportunities on private land are, they're limited. So that was a discussion that was open for many years, but today I don't think it bothers anyone because that market has shrunk.
And just what's the prevalence overall? Like I said before, like you don't. I've never heard of people hunting Iceland. You don't think about it as a destination or even the residents hunting. Like, is there still a lot of hunting? Like you said, market hunting's kind of gone right down. But just in general, like are people is there a lot or no?
There's quite a lot of hunting. If we just start with the only game bird, if we want to talk about ptarmigan as a game bird, but we only have one game bird, and that bird is a traditional Christmas food.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not that Christmas Day meal or day before Christmas meal, but it is traditional Christmas food.
Hmm.
But the popularity of it has decreased. There's a generation shift.
Hmm.
Some people can make a steak out of beans. I'm not there, so it's it's their preference. I have nothing against it, but those are also the lobbyists that want to take our hunting privileges away from us. So I'm 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 opposed and biased to the fact that someone wants me to stop doing something that I'm doing because they're not interested in.
Yeah.
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 But hunting here has has without a doubt taken a downfall, and the biggest downfall that we have seen in it is the aftermath of COVID. We lost people out of this out of this pastime or lifestyle or sport or hobby, whatever we want to call it, uh, that we never got back.
Hmm.
Funny because it
So
seemed like generally, especially in North America, it kind of went the opposite way for at least a little while.
Yeah.
yeah, it did. Shooting in general in the States became just because it was something that you could do out there by yourself without being dependent on anyone. But maybe we had limitations that affected it because we had less excuse me, we had less options of going into web shops and ordering ammunition and stuff like that. So that might have been what affected it in a big manner. But we lost people. We're seeing the popularity of it increase again, and I think that the Hunters Federation and then just stores and ranges are the driving force behind that. And with us, the importers, and that is my job. I import and distribute shotguns and ammunition here in Iceland. That is going to be our role for the next
Hmm.
years to, increase the interest and see where that takes us. But without numbers, it is so easy to push you off the table. If you don't have
Yeah.
the opposition in numbers, then you know and you guys know it. It's happened in your country. It's happened in Trump land and everywhere else. Opposition doesn't need any logic. Just
Yeah.
because it's more than enough logic for those that don't like that what we're doing or someone else.
It's really interesting what you said when you said, it's part of your job now to help try and grow this and get people back, right? Do you talk to, organizations in the States, in Canada, Germany? Europe has always had a super strong hunting tradition, and I would assume that is really sliding, and going the way to dodo bird now. But do you
Hmm.
talk to all these other countries when it comes to strategies on how to recruit more hunters, especially the
I
young
had
people?
Yeah, I have communications with, friends in the industry, just networking. And this is why it's vital, like that show that I just came from in Germany, Eva, where you have access to, industry friends from all over. You
Hmm.
can you can hear the trends, what's happening, what have you guys been doing and did it work? What have you guys been doing and did it work? And you put that all in your pot and you put your shaker in there and you shake it and twist it and you see what comes out. And sometimes you come out with the right formula, sometimes you don't. Sometimes it tastes like
Hmm.
shit and sometimes it's great. So,
Hmm.
but there are just so many limiting factors by being in a country where, and I'll say this without talking negatively about it, there has never been, we don't have a hunting heritage.
Okay.
We have a food gathering heritage.
Right.
We
Okay.
were hungry, we were poor, and we were cold. That's why we tried to kill birds to
Hmm.
get, fresh food. So we don't have the hunting heritage. We don't. there's no romantic history about hunting in Iceland.
Right.
We don't have paintings or pictures where with old friends from the 1800s where they gathered at the end of a great hunting day and just showed off the merits of the day.
Right.
We don't have that. It was a poor, cold, hungry farmer sneaking back to his farm, with the
Yep.
next meal. That is what we're built.
Hmm.
That's our foundation. So, but today we have pictures going decades back,
Right.
and we're building on something that you've had for 150 years, and Europe has had for 500 years, or
Hmm.
whatever it is. Uh, with that, with these facts, then a lot of times we're kind of like a one-legged guy in an ass-kicking contest. We're all for it, but there's no way we're going to win. So it's that you're in the race, you're ready, but
There's your header
there's
for this
no way you
episode.
can win.
Oh, fuck, that is the best. That is the best. No, and I totally get it. Like I've said, I'm from Newfoundland. Like there was no, we were the same way. We live in the North
Yeah.
Atlantic. It was survival. The weather, the wind was horrible. The storms are horrible. We couldn't grow anything. We couldn't grow any
Mhm.
vegetables. Carrots, cabbage, and potatoes, and turnip.
That's it. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that would grow. And
Yeah.
and still that didn't grow great. So I know what you mean. We the Newfoundland heritage, we don't have a whole lot of paintings of people sitting around and marveling at their hunt. And remember, in Newfoundland, the moose isn't a native species in Newfoundland.
No, it was
got
introduced.
It was introduced, right? So we had caribou, but and much like your reindeer, but their migration paths, if anything screws up their migration route, well then you may go years without seeing a caribou, if the
Yeah.
migration route is screwed up whatsoever. So I know what you're saying. I really do, and it's super interesting for me, even though there's a whole lot of Atlantic Ocean separating my home away from your home. There's a lot of similarities.
We're still pissing in the same puddle.
Yeah, we certainly are.
But I wanted to touch on just to find out, because you've kind of skirted around it a bit, like just with your involvement with the industry, like how did you get there? Like because I remember like when we first started talking on our hunts and that, like you were talking about, just going to SHOT Show, and I think you said that's how you met Mario and that as well. But
Yeah.
how did you
Yeah.
land in the industry professionally?
Well, in 2001, a dealer in Reykjavik reached out to me and he offered me a job, just a clerk at his store, which I accepted. I was there for 6 years. I left that place in 2007 and made a career change and started selling electronics. Well, guess what? Bad move.
Yeah.
Bad move. Worked with some great people, and he taught me a lot of those. He taught me a lot of things. That guy, that dealer that signed me on. I was there for a year, that electronics store, and the company that I manage today, the owner and the previous manager, which I both knew pretty well, they reached out to me and they said, he said, the manager at that time, he said, I'm quitting and I need to find a replacement for me. So I was like, no, I don't want to do it. I'm like, I don't know why I said no. And I was not playing hard to get, but the conversation went for something like 3 months. Every week, we would touch base, and I'm like, nah, I'm thinking about it. Then, I started sniffing something, and I'm like, no, this place is going south. That electronics store.
Mm-hmm.
Things were changing. Their ownership had changed, so I accepted the job. So I've been there since 2008. Still think it's the best job in the world, and happy with it. been working for good people since day one. Couple of older gentlemen brothers that owned it. Still, they still got their fingers in it, but their kids own it today with another company that they manage. And so I'm working. It's a family business, and like I said, I've been fortunate to work for good people that have you know bent over backwards for me several times. So you know, it's it's almost 17 years, and I'm happy about it. And I am not counting down the days. Every day that I go into the office is a good day. So yeah, I've got a pretty good job. So if that answers your question, Craig, then I'm not I'm not sure if I went too wide on you on that, but
No, no,
yeah,
no,
that's how I
no. It's like
landed in the industry.
no, that's interesting because like again, especially like following your trips and that like shop show and that the meetings in Germany there, like seeing the posts, like the all the Benellis and stuff that you're posting, like those things looked amazing. I don't know if you'd seen any of those, Damien.
No, I seen a couple of the posts, but I didn't see anything from Germany.
There's
Yeah,
some really cool stuff there.
yeah. I was Benelli has a sales meeting a day prior to that show, usually a day prior to it, which is a half day event that stretches into the evening, where they ended on a nice gala dinner, and that's one of the highlights of that trip for me, and they are my main supplier of product
Yeah,
today. So with Benelli and Frankie coming out of the same door on
Mm-hmm.
or separate doors on the same building.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm fortunate. I I know there's I know there's I it wouldn't take me long to find 100 guys that would pinch that job away from me
yeah.
if they could. So
No, it's
I'm
gotta be
I'm
a pretty
sticking
great
to it.
feeling each day, and you're like, yep, just another awesome day.
Yeah, another awesome day, and just let's just remember, and I try to keep an open mind with this because every day, you know every vacation has a rainy day. Let's just put it that way. So you know, let's just, be grateful for what you have because a lot of people are not fortunate to be working on what, they live and breathe
Yeah.
for, like,
Mm-hmm.
hunting and shooting and guns and ammunition. So I'm just fortunate. I play around with all the cool stuff way before anyone else gets to play with it. So yeah, yeah, I'm the
And
happiest guy around.
some pretty
Should
cool
be.
connections and friendships too, right? Like even just
Yeah,
the
yeah.
few people that I've met that that are good friends of yours, and just hearing some of your stories when we're out in the blind and just through tonight, like just some pretty cool connections, some pretty cool stories. And so that's
Yeah.
one thing I wanted to ask about, like just if there's because I've heard of only just a few small trips of your or a small amount of your trips, but like there's got to be something that just like jumps right out at you. It's like if somebody ever asked that, the standard question of what trip stands out to you is like the trip that you'll always remember. Like what there has to be something that stands out for you.
Work or play?
Just play, just straight up. I'm sure probably like a hunting trip, but like I'm sure it may have come from a work trip that turned into hunting, like it did in
You know,
February. But
yeah, every trip is special. Some are better than others. It is really hard to it is really hard to say this is the best or that is the best. I was fortunate a few years back to go to Argentina with a really, really nice group of guys, and that is probably one of the most interesting trips that I've had. But what kind of made it more intriguing and more interesting and more rewarding than just the sheer number of birds that we killed is that I was traveling with people that and hunting with people that were knowledgeable about the species down there, like Pat Pitt, his son Patrick. I don't know if you know Chris Aiken, the dog trainer
Yeah.
from Arkansas. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Another guy called Ashley Steinke he's from
I don't.
Wisconsin. Well, he's uh, Ashley. He's a conservationist. These guys were so knowledgeable about so many things down there that just made it more interesting and rewarding than it would have been, on just any other guided trip,
Yeah.
where you had to fend for yourself to get information. But my first trip to the States, when I hunted with the Texas Refuge Gang at Bay Prairie Outfitters in Midfield, Texas in 2001, that was just, the first time I went to the States to hunt. First trip, I hunted with Pat Pitt on the rice prairies in northeast Arkansas out of a steel pit.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds awful with his two boys, Patrick and Steven, and all the friendships that I've made uh, through his club members. And, there a lot of these people are more than just friends today or hunting acquaintances.
Yeah.
I look at them as family. I'll bend over backwards if I have to for them regarding anything. So I think that the bonds that we make as hunters, and like I said, Craig, I can't sit here and say this is the best trip I've ever been on.
Yeah.
Every day is the best day that I've ever had. Hunting. New places, new smells, new scenery, new species, different food. It's. But I think that what people that don't hunt and don't associate with the hunting community, they don't realize is that the bonds that we make are not bonds that are made at a golf course.
Yeah.
You know, there's going to
Mhm.
be a stinker in every group. Don't worry about it. It'll take some time to find them, but it it. I think hunters are a different breed when it comes to that because it's like I said, it's not a sport. It's not a hobby. It's a lifestyle. It's just you have to do it. It's in your blood. It's in your system.
Yeah.
You just need to fuel that fire.
Well, and
So
it's like people will say too, it's like, well, like when they ask and you're saying, like, I just love to be out there, same thing, the smells, the sights, and that they're like, well, you could do that without hunting. It's like you could, but how many people do you know that aren't hunters are taking the time to go out and enjoy those places and those things that we see? Like they're not getting up as early as we are. They're not going as far as we are. They're not, and there's some people that, yeah, those big trekkers and stuff like that, or rock climbers that like they go into some crazy places, but most people, no matter how much they enjoy nature, aren't going to see and enjoy the things that we do.
yeah,
Like it's
it's
just it's
totally
not the same
different.
scale.
No, no, it's not the same. It's not the same scale, but and I don't want to belittle any other pastime or hobby that people do. I'm just glad that people go out and do
Mhm.
something. But I think that if you find someone that fishes that doesn't have interest in hunting, it's just because he hasn't been introduced to it. I am almost 100% sure it's the same nerve. It's connected on both ends. It may be
Mhm.
separated in the middle, but all you got to do is just lay them together, and it's the
Yeah.
same thing. It is the same thing. It's the same excitement. That bite. That dream cast when you just oh, it's on. It's yeah.
And just that tracking
So
it down too. Like a buddy of mine, like he's a crazy fisherman, but it's like, you get in the boat with him and it's like, all right, this is a new lake, but like there's something over here. We're gonna go over there. We're fishing for this species. I see something over there there's gotta be the fish that I want in there. And it's still that hunt. You're still hunting, you're looking for it, you're looking for its habitat and where you've got the best chance of
yeah,
finding it and being successful. And it's yeah, I think you're right. Like it's if for those guys that haven't tried it and but they're hardcore fishermen, it's like there's no reason for you to not enjoy both.
And I don't
no,
think I
no, yeah,
don't think it's a far-fetched idea to say that it could be somewhat geographical too, right? So like if you
yeah.
grow up in an area where fishing is predominantly what everybody does, well then that's what you get sucked into, right? And oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
fishing, but then yeah, if you were to introduce, I would say 90% of the fishermen, they'd be like, "Oh,
They would.
this is awesome,
Yeah,
and vice versa as well.
and vice versa.
Yeah, the duck hunter or the hunter as a whole. If you were to take a hunter, I know for me, I'm not a good fisherman. It's just to me, it's damn near impossible to catch fish because there's so many different lures and species and different ways to try and catch them.
Yeah.
But if I got taken out on a fishing trip by somebody that knows what they're doing and
Hmm.
taught me and I had reasonable success, I'm pretty sure I'd be pretty hooked on fishing too.
Yeah,
Oh
one more
yeah.
thing to
Oh
spend your
yeah.
money on.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it was an interesting point that you said it, I like fishing, but I'm no good at it. And here's something I'll tell you. Here's something that happened to me. Uh, I am I can be hyperactive. I'm
Hmm.
probably, I should be on medication. I'm not going to go down that path because I've made it through the first 53 years of my life without medication. You know, I'm just going to stick to the engine the way that it's running today.
Yeah.
Unless I just need it.
Yeah.
But I have a good friend that I hunt with, and we hunt quite a bit together, and he's not a good shooter. He just he makes great shots, but most of the time it's like he complains that, I can't hit this, can't hit this. And we go to the range or we go to his place and we shoot clays at his place, and it's fine. And I you know, it has pissed me off several times. And I remember a few years ago, I just looked at him and said, "Why do you even bother with this? You can't hit shit." And that's just
I don't like where this is
and it
going.
no, no, and he's an understanding gentleman and a dear friend. He just looked at me and said, "Don't worry about it. You know,
That's right.
don't worry about it. I get exactly the same kick out of this as you do, the
Hmm.
same enjoyment, and stuff doesn't have to be falling out of the sky every time I pull the trigger." It's like, but I enjoy it, but I get what you're saying. And
Hmm.
he never changed the tone of his voice. And I was like, shit, that was a tough pill to swallow. And I'm like, I'm sorry. So I apologized to him. He said, "You don't have to apologize. I understand you." He said, "You're gung ho. You're a good shot. You just bum, bum, bum. You do it, with passion every time." He said, "I do it with the same passion, with a little less results." So, and
But
that's
I
just the
think
way it is.
that's a good point because we've talked about it, Craig, on this show a number of times, and we had a friend of ours, Eric Massey, on one time, and Eric sort of said, what's your why? Why do you love it? And
Hmm.
who am I to say my why is more important than your why? It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. If you're
No.
having just as much fun out there, and even if you're not being able to harvest a bird or harvest the animal that you're chasing, if you're out there and you're still having fun, who am I to say that my why
Yeah.
is more important than
We,
yours?
we can't judge the effort. We can't judge the method. We can't judge the passion that's behind it because
Yeah.
we have no comprehension on the terms. So, and that is just one of those things. And I've been fortunate that both of my daughters were interested in both fishing and shooting slash hunting.
Hmm.
One of them doesn't want to hunt anymore, but she'll if she gets a chance to go to the range with me, breaking plays gives her a lot of enjoyment. My younger daughter, she likes hunting, and she has admitted that she hates the killing part.
Hmm.
She would like to do everything, like we were talking about that piano earlier on.
Yep.
If we could take that note out, it's still gonna be the same song.
Yep.
But she hunts, she fishes, and I think that today more than ever that it's important to pass down what we're doing today. And I don't want to sound like an old guy, but uh, I have children. I have grandkids.
Hmm.
I should be considering that I should be imprinting, and
Yeah,
it should be imprinting. It should be a part of their lifestyle. It should be a part of their heritage. I want my grandkids to say, with pride, 30 years from now or 40 years from now, whenever I croak, my granddad, he was a great hunter. You
hmm
know, instead of saying, "Oh, my granddad, no, he killed stuff."
right.
I
It's
just
two separate approaches on the same subject, but it's one of them tastes better than the other.
Well, and the other thing is that, for me, I'm jealous. I'm jealous when I talk to people and they talk about how they spent time hunting with their dad or their grandfather or their uncles or something like that.
Me too.
Like my dad hunted, and he only hunted moose and big game. But when my dad went hunting, he wasn't taking me with him because it was a
Yeah.
chance for him to get away with his friends and not have kids and not have to worry about looking after kids and stuff. So and it wasn't so much that it was a guy's weekend away. It was,
Mm-mm.
listen, I'm here, I'm getting up early in the morning, I'm walking all day. The last thing I want is some kid complaining that he's hungry or he's tired or whatever, right?
Cold.
Cold, because there was no room for it, because he was trying to he was trying to get an animal so that he could put food in the freezer. I'm jealous of people when I get them on this show and I ask them, what was your introduction? I got introduced to hunting just because it was something that everybody did where I was from. Like,
Yeah.
there was nothing else to do. So
Yeah.
so at 14 years old, you could get a shotgun and go put it over your shoulder and you could go out and you can shoot stuff. And that was enticing to us. But I'm
Oh
jealous
yeah.
of fellas. I'm jealous of fellas that have this heritage passed down, like Craig. Like Craig at a young age with his uncle and his father and his brother. Like, I'm jealous of that.
Oh yeah. 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 I'm envious of it.
Hmm.
I'll agree with you on that because, like I said, my dad was never a hunting mentor. He taught
Yeah,
me the safety and all that
of
thing, and
course. Yeah.
he taught me the species. But you know, it it mentoring me was not what it was about. But
yeah.
it it got it got infused.
Hmm.
Let's just say
Yep.
that
Same.
he left the seed, but
Absolutely.
I had to water it myself. So with
And I
that
think
being
that's the
said,
thing.
I
It's
think
it's
I'm grateful.
it's at
Hmm.
least having given that exposure and the opportunity, right? Like, because even now, like my kids, they're still young and they're back and forth whether they want to hunt. My oldest one, he's 12. He just got his license late last year, and so now he's interested. And I didn't think he was going to be. The younger one, he's kind of like you were saying with your daughter. It's like he's only 8 and he wants to go. He likes to come out and help set up blinds and that. But he says all the time he doesn't want to shoot anything, but he wants to be involved. And either way is fine with me. Like, it's just knowing that, yeah,
At some
at least you've given
at
that
some point
exposure.
in
And
time, he's going to reach for that gun.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's
But I
bound
think
to happen.
I think the way you're doing it, Craig, is that you don't put any pressure on your kids, and I think
yeah,
Mm,
that's where it could go south. Is that if you do put pressure on them, that's where they could just put the blockers
yeah.
up and be like, "Yep, no, I'm not doing it because Dad
no,
tells me I got to do it."
Or
yeah,
So
yeah, you
and I
can still
think
go.
and kids today, modern day kids, they don't handle pressure
no,
well
Mhm.
no, and
because it
excuses
is
are very,
accepted for them to walk away from stuff.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
not laying it down on a generation. It is just the way that we are evolving as a
Hey,
species. And let's not
100%.
forget, we are just one more animal on this planet, nothing else. We're not more
I've
important
got
than anything else.
I've got 2 kids, and neither one of them will go hunting with me. They won't get up that early in the morning. That's the number one.
yeah,
They just don't want to get up early in the morning. But both of them, if I was to say in the middle of the afternoon, come out, they would come out in a heartbeat and set up decoys and hang out and chat with me. But they have no desire to shoot an animal or whatever. But
yeah,
again, it's we do owe it to the next generation to at least try and imprint it into them, because if we don't,
Yes.
at some
Yes.
point in a kid's life, and that could be at 12 years old or that could be at 40 years old, there's going to be a lesson that you're taught when you're in the woods hunting that you're going to need in life. And that isn't just killing. That could be tying a knot.
Anything.
That could be anything. But there will be a lesson that you learned in the woods with your mentor that you'll apply in life. Guaranteed.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because you were talking about kids not wanting to wake up early in the morning. My younger daughter, she, a few years ago, she's about 10 when that was. She did not want to wake up early in the morning.
Yeah.
But when we were going salmon fishing, we started fishing our beat at 7. We had beats to fish. So we had a beat from 7 to 1 or something like that. And you want to be there, you want to be there early and, get ready. 7 o'clock, it goes in. And, I'm hyperactive, going fishing, getting ready. I remember we're sitting in my truck, we're driving, going to fishing. And she's like, we can keep doing this together. I like it, but there's one thing there's a couple of things we need to agree on. And I'm like, okay, what's that? Don't rush me, and let's just not talk together until I start talking.
Hey, and you can't argue with that. And that is not, that's a couple of parameters that is not hard to follow.
Mm-hmm.
No. I was like, what? She's
like, if only more people
now
could
you
be
know
that in tune to just come up with two simple things like that, right?
Yeah. And she's 10 years old at that time. She's like, just let's not talk until I start talking.
That's awesome.
and don't rush me.
Yeah.
If you rush me putting on my waders, it's gonna take 6 more minutes than it would be without you rushing. So just don't push me.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, and I'm just sitting there, like a rack of acid. You're gonna get it on. But these are the things you remember, and like I said, every trip has its virtue. Everything we do has its virtue. Me and my good friend Pat Pitt, which I never get tired of mentioning or talking about. We we have a saying. We have a couple of sayings. Miles and memories, and let's do it again. And I think that's what it's all about. Let's try to make sure that we have an opportunity to repeat the stuff that gives us the enjoyment that we get out of our pastimes or lifestyles. Killing stuff is what some people want to call it, but I'm talking about, the hunt,
Yeah.
the camaraderie.
Like even our trip, man, it's like, there's not a chance probably that I would have met anybody on that trip. Other than maybe Tyler's guides, because it turns out they all live in my hometown. But there's not a chance I would have met anybody. What would be the likelihood that you and I would ever cross paths? But just the best way to meet some really cool people and hear some awesome stories and build really cool, long-lasting connections, right? And just see
I
what
agree.
Comes to that, right? Like I don't think you can. I don't think you can have a better way of connecting with people.
No, I fully agree with you, and I think that well, first of all, I think that we're going to have to do another episode because we have not even touched base on half of the stuff that we were going to talk about, which is fine. I'm having fun, but I think that when we look at what we do and we look at what we're doing, I think that society is going to benefit from it in the end, because friendships made online are surely friendships like anything else, but there are few experiences today or few events today where human beings depend on another human being.
Mm-hmm.
And without that being the case, when you leave on a hunting trip, uh, that shit's gonna go down the drain and someone needs to save me. But that is actually stuff that happens on hunting trips, not at the soccer field, not at the
Mm-hmm.
mall,
Mm-hmm.
not in the backyard barbecue, unless drunk Bobby falls into the pool and someone needs to pull him out. You know, that's it. But you look around that ring of friends that you have when you're hunting, and when you've been with that group for 10, 20 minutes, which one of them is going to pull you out or start doing CPR on you or try to get your tent out of, put the fire out in your tent or whatever it is. This is a different thing. It is camaraderie on a different level. It's more than friendship, and society benefits from it in the end, without the doubt.
And it's not so transactional as most interactions you have with anything else.
Yeah.
Well,
you're right.
I use this example, not including the fact that I was in the military and I would get dropped into meeting new people all the time. But if you think about the average hunter, so think about this interaction we're doing tonight. If we end this call and you say to me, I think you should come to Iceland next year in February and let's do a hunt, I'll be like, okay, let's do it. I will go up to my wife and I'm like, next February I'm going to Iceland. She'll be like, who are you going with? Oh, there's a guy on the show and he invited me. And she was like, you're going to leave to a complete stranger that you've never ever met and go and hang out with him for a week in another country. And I'm like, yep. Because the friendship, and again, we'll go back to that point where it's not, listen, I like to harvest the animal. I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't like harvesting the animal, because I do.
No, we all do.
But it is not just about harvesting the animal. The friendships, the conversations, the knowledge that I learn from other people, and I love learning. And that is one of my things. I love to learn about people, and I love to learn about other countries and other cultures and all that stuff. And if I can sit down with someone for 4 and 5 hours and pick their brain about everything, that is a huge win to me. And I think hunters, and I think a lot of hunters don't realize that they do it and that it's important to them, but it is. And it's, I think as you get older, you start to realize, you know what? It really wasn't about shooting that mallard.
No,
it was more about hanging out with my buddy and having fun.
And I think too, like with the hunting crowd, as much as people probably don't want to think that we are, like the diversity of backgrounds too. And
huge.
Especially when it comes to, where you're coming from, what you do for work, where you travel.
Absolutely.
Like it's just so many cool things to learn from each other.
Absolutely.
And such cool stories and backgrounds. And like we were talking as you stepped away, Damien, it's just that on our hunt out to Saskatchewan, like would have never crossed paths with any of those
Absolutely
people,
not.
heard their stories.
Probably not.
Got to learn about
them.
Nope.
And
never.
It's just such a cool opportunity.
And Craig, you've heard me say it about this show. I've done this show for it's going on. Well, this is episode 218. Never in a million years would I have been able to talk. Would I have ever been able to talk to you in Iceland?
Probably not.
Never. We would never have ever crossed paths. Even Craig, we would never have crossed paths. We would never we would never have become friends. And it is 100% give credit to the hunting community. I know we can be we can be tough sometimes to deal with, and some people aren't, you know, some people aren't ideal, and I get that, but that's every walk of life and everything you get into. But I can tell you, the majority of us, it is 100% as grassroots as you could get. It's just a bunch of people, and we say it on this show all the time.
Absolutely.
A bunch of people that love talking about duck hunting. We're not experts at all.
No, I learn something new every day I go out.
I think the day that you don't learn, that's the day you hang it up.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, you know what? I've done it. You know what? I think, you know, we're about an hour and 20 minutes into it. I think we end it here, and I am going to take you up on that offer to do another episode.
Yeah, we're gonna have to hear about Greenland.
Yeah,
we'll do a post. We'll do a post Greenland episode. I'm cool with that, guys.
Yeah,
but
I would love to have
Damien
you come back.
Yeah, Damien and Craig, I'm just honored that you invited me on. I know we could shoot the shit until daybreak. I have no worries about that.
We sure
but
could.
It's a good point to end it on. Like I said, it was a pleasure. I'm honored that you offered that you invited me on, and you can pick my brain on it again. We'll do it again soon. So whenever you guys are ready for it, just give me a holler, and
well, we got to get you. We got to get you home.
We'll set it up.
Yeah, we just got to get you home where you're not traveling all over God's green earth.
Enough time to
yes, sir.
for time zones and stuff.
And time zones and stuff.
Fine.
There was something I was just gonna say. Totally lost it.
Well,
anyways, next time.
Next time. Next time. All right, Craig, to you, buddy. You're ending her.
All right. Well, Damien, you want to do a quick round the table?
Yeah.
Do you have any final things? Or you wrap up?
Yeah, no, I guess my final thoughts are you are the very first person to be on the show outside of North America. And that I am extremely thankful for. I'm extremely thankful that you took time out of your day to come on and hang out with us, because I know it's 11 o'clock your time right now, 11 o'clock p.m. your time. I can't thank you enough for coming on, and you know what?
Thank you.
Just being a solid person and saying it like it is. Very appreciative, and this will not be the last time we chat. I can promise you that.
Thank you, Damien. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on. It was great to have a little more time to chat with you, and hopefully we'll do it in a duck blind again sometime.
Yes, sir. Let's do it in a duck blind. Good man. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely.
Good night to you.
This was episode 218 of the Union 0430. Surround yourself with good people and good things will happen. We're not experts. We're just a bunch of dudes that love talking duck hunting. Big love. Until next time.